All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And as always, we have an amazing warrior guest with us today, Karen Burkholder, and I'll introduce her to you in a second. But before we get started, let me remind you of why you're here at Warrior versus Zombie and what we're about. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point and provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. And in each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life: entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, you name it, any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future, and today's guest is no exception. Karen Burkholder is an awesome warrior. Her warrior journey began on an East Texas farm. As the youngest of four children, she grew up and dreamed about being her own boss and returning to her school someday in a red Cadillac to speak to the other students about her success. She graduated from college with a home economics degree and, intending to become a dietitian, began working at nursing homes to help seniors during the most difficult times of their lives. She then met her husband after moving to Dallas to work in a hospital kitchen. After experiencing her mom's death in a nursing home, she spent the next few years working at jobs that would allow for the flexibility to be a stay-at-home mom and to raise her girls. Her jobs included running an office, working with real estate investors, an embroidery business, and finally, Karen was introduced to the world of insurance. And as they say, the rest is history. Karen Burkholder, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. How are you doing, friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Dave, for having me on. This was one of the things when you first started doing Warrior versus Zombie, I envisioned being on one of your podcasts. So thank you for fulfilling that dream, Dave.
Well, glad I was on your bucket list and glad at least we got an opportunity to check it off. So I would say, how's things in your neck of the woods? We're not that far apart today. So I know that you're in Dallas. We've got a beautiful day. It's incredible. We're going to hit a record high today and all that cool stuff. So what else is going on in your world today? I think in the world you're in with Medicare and stuff like that, you probably just got over a major hurdle here today, right?
Right. 2 days ago, annual election period was over. So you're either on the right plan or we talk to you in January and make sure everything's good there. So the over 65 crowd, if you need my help, I'm still here to help you navigate through that maze, because it is a maze to get through that over 65 health plans.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I found, and I think I'd even had somebody talk to you, and they just make, you get to be that point in your life and you make an assumption and you just think, well, this is what I know. And one of the lessons I learned in all aspects is it doesn't cost anything to ask questions and have conversations and make sure you're doing the right thing. And frankly, we all have the things that inspire us and the things that don't inspire us, and worrying about health insurance or any kind of insurance for that matter is not on the top of my list of things that I want to do, nor is it something that I really know much about, other than I know who to talk to, people like you. So that's a beautiful thing. So any other exciting things going on or challenging things in your world as we talk? Or
recently, I've just added to my list of things for insurance is to help teachers with their retirement.
Oh, that's fun. Well, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that later, but that's a fairly new addition to my agency to help them. So, but I am mainly concentrating on seniors to help them in all aspects and not just insurance.
Sure. So how's your family doing? Everybody doing good there? Everybody's
Every,
healthy and everything, or any challenges?
everybody's healthy this week. We did have an emergency last week of emergency gallbladder surgery. And so we're, you know, slowly, he's slowly healing from that. And we're taking it one day at a time. So, but
Wow.
it's, you know, it's one of those, that's why you have health insurance. So I'll let you know in a couple of months when we start getting bills if I have us on the right plan or not.
Yeah, well, that's always where the rubber meets the road, right? And
Right, exactly.
sometimes sometimes we're surprised, but hopefully if you're in the industry, hopefully you're not. So that would be good. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. It's been a good check-in, and I just want to get right into talking about your story, hearing about that, a little bit of that warrior journey that you had and some of the zombies you've overcome. So we'll take a quick break here for the audio audience, hear a little of Ricky Jean Wright and It's Not the Getting There, our theme song. And we'll be right back. Here's Karen's story on Warrior versus Zombie. All right, we are back. And Karen, thanks for joining us today. So as I said before we took the break, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get from wherever you want to say you started till today?
Well, graduated second in my class of 12. And, you know, it was a small school in East Texas. Managed to get through college and graduated from there. And I'm, you know, it's like one of the few people from that school district that actually made it all the way through. Actually, it's like in our family, 3 of the 4 kids actually do have college degrees, you know, bachelor degrees. So, which is accomplishment for that area. Because we had the running joke in high school of you're either going to work at Cofield, the prison unit outside of Palestine, or you're going to live there. So, and I said, I'm not doing either one. So that's a accomplishment coming from East Texas, which goes back to the dreaming of going back to the school to actually tell the kids you do have other options. You know, just because you're in a small community school doesn't mean you can't make it and be your own boss or be a good employee if that's the way you choose to go. So that's that part of my story. And along the way of doing different odd jobs and entrepreneurship, working through with, like you had mentioned, the real estate. We have done some real estate investing, and because of real estate investing, my husband is retired now. And I have an office, so he can be at the apartment all day, and I come to the office and help my clients make sure that their legacy is protected. So do we want to get into the legacy planner now, Dave, or is that next?
Well, I mean, I think that when we get into it, we'll kind of, because I know it's part of where you are today. So tell me a little bit about as you got through the school, the college, doing some of the odd jobs that we mentioned in the introduction and those kinds of things. What kind of challenges have you experienced during that journey? What kind of zombies have you overcome, either between your ears or in the world that you've had to navigate through?
The main zombie, the main reason I chose to be a dietitian was because in the research from high school that I was able to do, dietitians get to basically choose their own time. And I knew I wanted to be a mom. I knew I wanted, to have a family. And so dietitians are able to choose their own hours, where the other parts of food service, you don't get to choose your own hours. You're working nights and weekends because that's when restaurants are open. And so I was able, that was why I was heading in that direction through college. And then inorganic chemistry, there's always that one class that knocks you out. So that was my zombie moment of, I couldn't remember the algebraic formulas long enough to take the test. I understood it, but test taking and memorizing formulas was not it. And then when I actually got out into it, I realized the dietitians don't actually get to work with seniors. They're working with the paperwork to make sure in the nursing homes, the diabetics are getting their diabetic food to stay on their calorie count so their blood sugars don't go up. And to a point where it's like, that's not what I want to do. And it took several different journeys and zombies to get out of my head to finally land in the legacy world. I don't just look at it as insurance. I look at it as protecting people's legacy because of what some of the things that I go into in the My Legacy Planner book, the book portion, because we had experienced some of the things that we did.
Well, tell me about that a little bit. What challenges did you incur? Both, family challenges. I mean, I know you reasonably well. We've been down the road a ways. I know you have had some health issues. You mentioned losing your mom, a number of things there. There's got to be some challenges, some things that have gotten rocks in your path, things that you've had to overcome. Tell me a little bit about that.
In high school, Dad had the brilliant idea of dropping all health insurance because since he was a World War II Navy vet, he would be taken care of at an VA hospital, forgetting that he also was covering Mom. 2 years after he dropped their insurance, Mom started having issues and she didn't know what was going on. It took several years to finally figure out it was actually bone cancer, was actually what was going on. So we went through that 3.5 years of actually finally getting the diagnosis until her death. So I understand the importance of the health insurance side because you think it's a waste of money when you're not using it. But if you don't have it, then that depletes your assets. So that was when a lot of the things where we found out how you split up your funds. So you're just using down the person that's sick part of the fund so the other person can still survive after they're gone. And so that was a lot of what I learned back then is A, don't drop your health insurance, and B, make sure that you do have the right coverage. And the other thing we learned that's non-insurance wise, somehow in the Parkinson's that my dad had and the medication he was on when he was staying on the farm by himself, the will got lost. So I go into that in the My Legacy Planner, that the bank decided in its remodeling, it was going to close down the safe deposit boxes. And that was where Dad was keeping some important paperwork, including his will. When my nephew went to go take him down there to go retrieve the will and the other important documents, Dad didn't want to go back into Palestine to open up another safe deposit box because it was too late during the day. He's like, oh, we'll take care of it later. And we never got that into a secured location. And upon his death, we were looking for the will and couldn't find it. So that became then another 3-year journey of heirship affidavit proving we were the only offspring and that we were the only ones entitled to any part of the farm. So we were dirt rich, cash poor, as we said, but that was part of that growing up process of learning what happens if state paperwork is not done correctly. So I don't want anyone else to go through that.
Well, that's interesting because as if you are part of a warrior versus zombie audience, we always hear this with the warriors that we talk to, because at some point it's the zombies that we've overcome. It's the challenges both in our mind and in our world that we've experienced that many times inform what we're doing today, why we're doing what we're doing, and so on. Because the thing that I'm always totally amazed, and not amazed in terms of surprise, but just enjoy and love is the fact that the warriors are warriors. We move forward, we focus forward. Doesn't mean things are that we're dealing with today are easy, and doesn't mean that we've had an easy path. Most people look at it and say, yeah, well, you can do that, you understand it, it's all easy for you because you're successful. And the reality of it is, we've all overcome the same challenges or different challenges. And then at some point, those things kind of inform what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. And we learn to overcome them. And then we have some value to offer somebody else who's on the path, maybe behind us or going to be on that. And we keep our eyes open. The thing is, with every challenge that you experience on your journey, maybe the seeds of your future success. And that's one of the things you had. So you got into, let me make sure I understand. So you got into, and we said, we're kind of to today a little bit, you're in insurance. A lot of that was due to some of the shortcomings, the lack of understanding, the zombies that you experienced in that phase with your dad's insurance, your mom's insurance, and then just the experience of then losing another parent and going through that process. And I also know, just you didn't mention it, but I also know that you have children with health challenges, and you've gone through some of that. So the whole health insurance and making sure, even in your world today, is something that you have very firsthand experience and powering through. But as warriors, we don't dwell on that. We don't sit and look back or sit here and wring our hands where we're at. We may have a little bit of a pity party, but we keep moving forward. So let's do this. Let's take another quick break, and then we're going to come back. And Karen, I want to hear a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing today, if it hasn't become obvious, and a little bit of your story, which I think it has, but let's get clarity on that. Talk about the unique value that you see yourself having as an insurance agent, as a resource for people in warriors in your community. And then, if anything were possible, what kind of impact do you want to have? So let's take another quick break. We'll hear a little bit more of Ricky Jean Wright, and It's Not the Getting There. And we'll be right back with Karen Burkholder and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, we are back, and these things always go so fast. And but I love these conversations. And Karen, I know, like I said, we've been on the journey for a bit, but I'm excited to be able to share you with the audience and people to get to know you a little better. So again, as I said before the break, tell me a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing today, what unique value you want to be providing to your network, your community, and if anything were possible, what kind of impact would you have?
Well, it's one of the things that I feel like I have a unique perspective on is because of the health issues. Well, I didn't go into the real estate issues on the real estate side of the insurance, that we also had the issue, and I want to make sure that none of my clients go through this. When after dad passed away, we let one of the siblings move into the farmhouse. So we thinking it would be better to have someone there than not. And because we let it up to her to be responsible for things, and that didn't happen. We had no documentation. I knew better. Doing the real estate investing, I knew we should have had at least a rental agreement for her, even if she wasn't paying, but just something documented. But it ended up that when it was time for the roof to be replaced, we contacted the insurance company. The insurance company was never able to get a hold of her. After 4 years, they dropped the insurance because now you have a 4-year-old claim. and a roof that was not replaced, which means they know there's damage on the inside. And over the next 4 years, insurance carriers that would insure the property would then drop us, and it was documented that the property was uninhabitable. And I don't want anyone to have to go through this. So I'm just telling you, it doesn't matter. We thought our family was close knit, we do everything together, no problem. Without documentation, the best of families can be your worst of enemies. So even though you think everything's going to be okay, well, it's better to have somebody in than not. In our case, it would have been better if we would have done our original plan, which was Airbnb, before we knew what Airbnb was. So, and then that way we could have, got the roof done in 2009 when it was supposed to be, instead of, I'm hoping the people that bought the farm, if they did redo and not bulldoze, that they replaced the roof pretty quick and then got the farmhouse back to its original state when Dad built it in 1968. So, it was, I remember helping him build it. So I don't want anyone to go through that. So, and in being, I put that in the My Legacy Planner, because I want you to make sure your family does what they're supposed to. I want you to leave a legacy. And so I want to be more than just your insurance agent. I want to be your legacy advisor, because if a legacy is created correctly, it can be generational. And so not just insurance, but your whole family can then be generational. And I want to help you create that. And that's, what my goal is for the rest of my working years, is to help people create a legacy, and then to protect the legacy that they have now, and make sure their kids and their grandkids get to enjoy it in years to come.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think as we get further down the road on our journey, and that's code for old. As we get a little older in our life, we actually start to realize that nobody gets out alive. We're definitely, our time, even if we do 120 years with the vitality of a 30-year-old, like my vision for my own journey is, you're still at some point, it's going to end, and the focus on what you leave behind, the impact you have, becomes more and more a focus as we get closer and closer to that time, and for whatever reason. And so I think it's beautiful to, I like the legacy planner. I like the concept. So tell me a little bit about the unique value. I mean, you, like I say, are an insurance agent. You do provide those kind of services, but it's a lot more than that. And you've even hit on a couple of those things. Your unique value is some of the experiences you've had and the things that you've learned, not only from what you've learned to do, but what you've learned not to do. And so tell me a little bit about, at a high level, what the impact would be for folks utilizing your legacy planner.
The idea is to make sure that they have things documented, for families, not just the, obviously the power of attorney and medical power of attorney that they can, will need to be able to set up, but just that the kids know what they want. Because we all knew what Dad and Mom wanted with the farm. They would have never wanted us to have sold it, but they also didn't want it to become in the condition that it was in. So, we want to make sure, I want to make sure as your legacy advisor that your kids know your story. So in the planner, in the workbook section, I leave plenty of room for you to create your own story. Let the kids know, this started out as the journey, what was it, 3 years ago when we started on one of the vision challenges. Mm-hmm. I started it out as, let's document your personal items for your, for your insurance policy, for your homeowner's policy. And then we included, now, if it's an heirloom, put your story down, who gets it. And I want to make sure that as your legacy advisor, you are creating those stories, because there's stories from my family's past that I want the good stories passed along. And I want your, your stories to be passed along so your family can know their roots. So, and if you know your roots, it's easier to pass on the legacy and easier for the families to know where they came from. So as a legacy advisor, that's what I want my clients to do. That I want them to be able to do that. I want them to tell their story.
So tell me a little bit about this hard hat that I'm seeing here on the screen. Tell me what's that all about?
Insurance is a tool, and I have the right tool for you. The hard hat is in memory of Dad. He worked in the field of carpentry during our growing up years. So he was actually building schools in the Tyler area. And the 2 years when I was working in the Tyler School District as the food service supervisor there, I actually got to go into several of the buildings that he actually was part of creating. And so it was like, that's, legacy started way back then. And so the hard hat is, I've got your right tool, and in honor of my dad. So.
Awesome. Well, that's a great story. I love that. All right, well, let's do this. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll come into what I call the land the plane segment, where we'll come back. And Karen, I'm going to ask you this question again when we come back, but if we take away anything from this discussion, from your journey, from your story, from where you are today and where you're going, what would you want us to take away? And then we'll talk about how do we stay in touch with you, how do people follow up with you, and so on and so forth. So let's take another quick break. Let's hear one more snippet here of It's Not the Getting There with Ricky Jean Wright, and we'll be right back with the final segment of Warrior versus Zombie and Karen Burkholder. All right, we are back. And Karen, it's been a nice journey. I've enjoyed hearing your story and getting some clarity on some of the things and why you're doing what you're doing today. So as I said before the break, tell me a little bit about if we take anything away from this podcast, what would you want us to take away?
Everyone has a legacy, and we want to make sure you get your legacy documented and protected. So if you don't protect your legacy, your kids have nothing tangible to take with them, to take to their grandkids. So let's protect your legacy. And that's my journey, to protect other people's legacy.
Well, that's actually, I appreciate that focus, because I would say that we have a lot of warrior guests. A lot of us are still looking forward. And I know you're looking forward for things on the journey that are going to unfold as we move forward. But I think at the end of the day, making sure that we've documented the journey that we've had and the things that we've learned and the story that we want to carry forward is really key. Every warrior should be thinking in terms of not only why are you doing, I love the fact that this was a kind of a product of the Vision Challenge, of going through the process of you exploring why you were doing what you're doing, the unique value and the things that you'd experienced in your life, and then how you took the things that you were doing and applied them to that to create and fund your journey and move you forward, which is all part of the Vision Challenge and that I created. And it's rewarding to me and my own legacy to know that there's people that have taken it and actually put it into practice. So that's a beautiful thing, and I appreciate that. But yeah, knowing that you need to get it down, you need to get it on paper, and having a tool, like you said, for the your legacy planner, get a place to put that, some structure around that. That's a beautiful thing. So tell me this, how does the people who are experiencing you for the first time, either in the Be Connected platform or, on one of the other podcast platforms at this, how do we stay in touch with you? How do we connect with you?
My website, KarenBurkholder.com. So it's just my name. And then this afternoon, I will be working on creating a page on that website for my legacy planner. And you can pre-purchase the printed book. It will be printed within the next couple of months. So if you pre-order it because of the Warrior versus Zombie and put down Warrior is the code, instead of the $15 price tag, I'll sell it to you for $7 and I will ship it to you at the $7. So, that way it's like, and let me see if I can I'll turn the screen off so you can see. I printed off yesterday. This is the new cover.
Oh,
this
nice.
is just the workbook pages that I printed off. And the first assignment in the workbook section is go get a notebook and 2 sets of 5 pocket folders. So I just want you to know that it is, a value. And so here's the size of notebook you really need. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. If you watch this podcast, $7 pre-order, and then the price then after March 1st will go back to the $13.77, and it'll be $15 with tax. So
awesome. Well, that's a heck of a deal. And having seen a number or some of these tools that people have out there to kind of go down this journey, I think that's a great value. And so getting in touch with you, not only KarenBurkholder.com, but for those watching in the Be Connected platform, there's a couple of opportunities. One is Karen has a group, a channel in the Be Connected platform. You can go to Karen. You can go, if you haven't joined the Be Connected platform, if you're not already on the platform, you need to do that. And you can search for Karen Burkholder. And that's the beautiful thing about that community, is that it's very high value, intentional, non-troll, invitation only community that will enable you to get to the people that can actually add value to your journey and support you as you go forward, which is the thing I love about it. But you can get to Karen on the Be Connected platform, and I would encourage you to reach out to her, connect to her. She's definitely a 5-star connection. Also, I believe you're doing a little quick talk tomorrow on the Global Connection Summit and Be Connected tomorrow. So if somebody wants to follow up and hear a little bit more about you, they'll be able to hear it there. And if you're get this recording after the fact, then it'll be recorded if you join the Be Connected community, which is another beautiful thing about that. And unlike some of the summits where you can watch it live, but then if you want to have the replays, you have to pay to get the replay, and this you can get for free. So, well, that's been great. It's been an awesome journey, Karen. I'm excited about getting your legacy planner out there, and looking forward to getting my hands on that. And appreciate you. Thank you for sharing with the audience, with all warriors that are going to hear it. And for those that are here, we do this every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. And we look forward to hearing from another warrior next Thursday at 11 on Warrior versus Zombie. Let's hear one more outro of Ricky Jean Wright, and we'll see you next week.